What's up? Welcome to the Cohesive Garage. Thank you for coming. I just thought I'd make a quick video today about what I think of the spark plug and just kind of tech tips on things to keep in mind and what's going on with these and how to install them and what to look for. So without further ado, let's do it. So yeah, spark plugs. Pretty straightforward stuff, right? I just thought I'd give you some insight into just what a technician thinks of doing spark plugs and what to look for and what kind of tools I use when doing them. So you're pulling out old spark plugs. I like to always do it by hand because you can break this porcelain section here, and when you take it out of the cylinder, when you unthread it, some of this porcelain can fall down into the cylinders, and that's never good for combustion and moving parts. So that being said, also super key here is the socket. So I've got one of these snappy guys here. It's a 5/8 on this car, and the part number is S9706K MAG. But this is a trick tool because it has a magnet inside of it. So when you put it in, it doesn't fall out. But see, it's not all the way in here. This is the one thing I don't like about spark plug sockets. See, now it's all the way in. But if you get them like this, you can cock it. And you can't see it down in there, but the spark plug's actually cocked. And if you try to loosen it like this, it's gonna break your spark plug, and then you'll have the shrapnel down in the cylinder, which is exactly what you don't want. So I always stick them in here, wiggle them around, make sure they're completely flush, and then it's gripping on the portion where it's meant to grip, and you're not putting the porcelain at risk. So yeah, and you take them out. I like to do it by hand. I like to remove them by hand, at least crack them loose by hand, and then use an air tool to take them the rest of the way out. Same with installation. I like to start them by hand. But anyway, so looking at spark plugs that come out of cars, especially platinums and iridiums, how can you tell that they're old or bad? Because you usually have a little bit of platinum on the tip and then also at the top, which you can see in this one. Those do not wear down fast like conventional spark plugs. So what I usually look for is this exposed area on the ceramics here. And let me give you some examples, but I've removed a billion zillion spark plugs, and what I've noticed is, okay, this was a brand new car. They've never had the spark plugs replaced. I'm taking out the spark plugs for the first time. What mileage is it at? And what does this look like? So I've developed a pretty good idea of what they look like. Let me give you some examples. Alright, so here's a few examples of some standard plugs, and this one is pretty new. So you'll see the top of it is very, very straight. It's very clean. Also the receptacle is not damaged in the slightest, and then it's clean right down in here. So yeah, that one is looking good. This one, you can see that it's not flat at the top. It actually is gumbied, I like to call it, if you guys know the green guy from the show, stop motion show. And the gap is increased, and gap is no good. So on some of them, it all depends. Like, you'll get a haze right here sometimes, and I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it has kind of a powder on it right there. But you can just look at a standard plug and see that it needs to be replaced. Here's an extreme example where the spark plug tube seals were leaking, so you have actually what is that, cauterizing going on there. But yeah, this one is out of control, worn out. It's been in there for a very long time, as maybe you can see. Pa-bam, there we go. And then we'll look at another one very close to it that you can really see some of that white powdering going on down here. But with a platinum, it's much harder to tell how long it's been in there. But you'll also see that white powdering effect going on down in here too, as well as, this is what I typically see when I replace the spark plug though, is many heat cycles. But yeah, it is usually hard to tell. So I usually just try to go by mileage. So for standard style spark plugs, it's about 30,000 miles, 15 to 30,000 miles. For platinum, it's around 60. And then iridium, you can get 90,000 miles out of them. I know BMW specs some of their spark plugs out higher than that, like 110,000 miles, but I just don't see the point. Another hot tip is, like, there's a few cars out there, like Volkswagen GTIs, for example, that you change the spark plugs in, and the resistance of the plug changes just enough to where it causes coils to die. And coils dying is a common thing if you let the gap get too big, or you have an issue where the coil really has to work to make the spark jump the gap. And then you give it a nice, normal, good spark plug, and then it just can't handle it anymore. And then a couple weeks it comes back later. So do some research on the vehicle that you're changing spark plugs out, and maybe something like that will come up. But rule of thumb is standard 30,000 miles platinum, 60,000 miles iridium, 90,000 miles. I think I got that right. I don't know. What do you think? What else? So installing plugs, I usually like to plant them firmly into the spark plug socket, use the appropriate extension, and then always start them by hand. And sometimes, like, I'll run it down with a gun or something like that. Not a gun, but an air ratchet. So what I usually do is I go until it touches the crush washer. Crush washer. And then usually it's 90 degrees after that. And sometimes, you know, depending on your spark plug, you'll get some instructions, and it looks like these ones basically say 90 degrees or 21 foot-pounds. So what I found is that 90 degrees is usually crushes the whole thing and gets it to where it's basically absolutely crushed the washer, and then it's no more than that. So let's feel how these ones are. So we will go 90 degrees. Boom. And yeah, that's 90, right? Yeah. So there you have it. Snug and snugger. And let's just go ahead and finish these off. Snug and snugger. Who talks like that? Yeah, it's snug. So we make sure it's on the socket as best as we can get it. And then 90 degrees is alright, right there. And you don't have to go all the way down, because I'm sure they engineer a little bit of play in the heat expansion that happens when the engine warms up. But I like my spark plugs tight. I don't like them coming loose and then you have a weird sound. Have you ever heard that? Spark plug that's not all the way tight sounds like an exhaust leak on a single cylinder. And basically it is an exhaust leak on a single cylinder, because the compression is getting past the spark plug. And nobody likes that. Nobody likes to bring their car back after a tune-up and with some, oh my gosh, I think I Need to do the manifold gaskets. Oh, sorry, your spark plug is loose. I've seen for Stranger Things. So, boom. How much tighter can we go? No, it doesn't want to go much tighter than that. I mean, that's it. So there you have it. Some basic tips, I guess, on spark plugs. And if you have any ideas or any pro tips or experiences with spark plugs that you would like to add to the conversation, leave it down below and we can talk about that. I'm sure I missed about a bazillion other points that you could make about spark plugs, coloration and things like that, but I'll leave that for probably about a billion other videos that are out there, but maybe I'll make one like that someday soon. But anyway, thanks for hanging out at the garage. Signing off again, and I'll see you in the next one.